In this episode of Bobscaping, we're going to give this boxwood a natural trim. There's been a considerable amount of gnashing of teeth in some of my past videos where I've used power trimmers or even hand shears to tightly shape these into a formal gumdrop or ball shape, whatever you want to call it. So here we're going to try a natural pruning technique. The thing we found over the years with natural pruning is that it's harder to hold shrubs back in size when you're doing the natural trim as opposed to the shearing. And secondly, it does take more time. So from a business perspective, when we were charging by the hour, natural hand pruning did cost more. So here we go. Let's just dig in here. And of course the whole key is to find your longest sprouts and go back within the outline of the shrub a little bit. This being, the outline is just kind of an imaginary line that is at the base of the new growth. So usually you want to trim just within that. So we'll just start cutting there, and of course cutting bigger stems as compared to smaller stems is faster, make less cuts. So again, we're just taking the longer growth and trimming it off. We're going to throw it right into the bucket there so we don't have to do any pickup at the end. Here's one sticking out. These gloves help protect your hands, especially when you're using sharp pruners. Here we have our trusty old Felco number 2s. That's my favorite hand pruner. Good quality. You'll pay good money for them, but they'll last you a long time. Here's one sticking up. So you basically just keep going after these ones that stand out from the crowd, so to speak, and nip them off. Here's some over here. Here's a group of them. We'll go back into that one. There we cut back into it a little bit. Sometimes too it's good to create some holes in a shrub. Here you can see a hole. That helps sunlight get down in. Like if you were to cut this shrub way back, you would be depending on that growth down in there and some of the adventitious buds that would appear after you cut it back to regrow the shrub. So brushing up against this Adagio grass makes me think we're in white-tailed deer country here, and we do have deer in our neighborhood. So you always have to be aware of brushing up against plants and trees and shrubs that you may end up with a tick, a deer tick on you. And of course a lot of the deer ticks around here carry Lyme disease, and Lyme disease can be a serious problem for you. So you want to be aware of that when you're working in the outdoors. You want to change clothes, brush yourself off when you go in, even inspect your arms and legs and body for any presence of ticks. Okay, we're continuing to cut off the longer sprouts. As you can see, it hardly looks like it's been trimmed so far. And of course that is the goal of natural trimming, is to trim a shrub so that it doesn't look trimmed. And again, it takes more time. So we're going to just continue here, cutting some of the longer ones. It's hard not to do them in groups, which is similar to shearing, but we'll try not to cheat on that too much. And you'll notice in most of our trimming videos, I try to keep the foliage off the building next to the shrub or tree. Reason for that being, if you have any insects, especially something like ants, they will use a branch as a natural trail to go from the shrub into the building or onto the building. So I always try to keep a separation gap, and it also allows for ventilation. And if you're ever going to be painting, or like when your window washers come to do your windows, they always appreciate a good clear path to their work on your windows. Okay, we're going to trim some more of these sprouts. So you get the general idea. I mean, it's basically, you just keep going back in, looking for your longer shoots and trimming those off. And then at some point, you say, okay, that's enough. And you stop trimming and call that a naturally trimmed shrub. For this episode of Bobscaping, this is Bob.